Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time. And yes, I know I say this every single week and every month on our podcast, on the live webinars. This one's unique for a few reasons. Number one, we're sitting here on a Friday afternoon, which is rare, right? We typically do these every Thursday at 2 p.m. This week was a double header, which we only do a few times throughout the year, only when it's very, very important and we have to get agents on, trained, and comfortable with the platforms or this part of the industry that we're going over. So this one is special. The reasoning behind it is number one, we are launching and have launched our senior health insurance department. Number two, so Jeremy is our expert sales coach, right? And he's a third party consultant. So if you recall, we do this on the annuity side as well. We bring in Coach Chris every quarter. And what I love about him being a independent sales coach slash consultant is he's not tied to one carrier, maybe an IMO. He is literally tied to the entire industry. So when we hear his opinion, right, his expertise, his take on a certain concept, product, whatever it is, he's looking at this from a 100-foot overview, right, through an independent lens, if you will. So that was the goal, right? It's great to have these carrier VPs on and they share, why their company is the best and their products are number one. But when we have someone looking at the industry as a whole, that to me is the icing on the cake if I put my agent hat on. So you're going to hear from Coach Jeremy. We're going to do this roughly every few months and get his take on what's going on and how you can grow your business on the senior health side. So I'm excited about this, and now you can kind of understand why I'm excited about this, and I hope you are too. What I want you to do is fire away with questions, comments, feedback, good, bad, and different. We want to hear from each and every one of you so you can expand that Q&A pane, okay, when you're ready to ask a question. Andrew's going to do his best to answer questions in real time. If not, what we're going to do is right when Jeremy is done, we'll have him stay on for a few more minutes. We'll ask him some questions, and then anything that we can't get to because of time, we'll circle back when we finish up after 3 p.m. Eastern. And then, as always, we're going to send a thank you email tonight, and we'll include all of the brochures, the onboarding, marketing pieces, everything we're going over today will be in that thank you email that you get by, let's say, 7 or 8 p.m. before we wrap up for the day. Okay? And then, by the way, anything that comes up after the fact, or if you're watching or listening to this 2 weeks later when we launch it on our YouTube channel, on our website, any questions, call in. You can speak to Marshall. In fact, we have 2 experts here in the office that are literally here, trained and ready to help support you in your health journey. Okay? So just know that you can have peace of mind. And by the way, if you need to reach out about any of the marketing platforms, any of the technology, obviously reach out to Andrew, myself, Carrie. We can help you as well. Okay, so let's jump in. Enough of my ranting. We're also going to have a webinar question of the day. So whoever is paying attention stays on until 3 p.m. Eastern or right before and answers my question correctly wins Apple AirPods, the latest version 4, and our prospecting book, as long as you're an active Levinson agent. Okay? Active means you're already appointed and you're writing at least an app a year. Okay, and your persistency is decent and everything else looks good. So let's jump into the first slide. What I want to talk about is our number one is our customer, which is our agent, because we don't sell on a retail level whatsoever. So when we see our agents have fantastic reviews, feedback, testimonials about our team, it means the world. Okay, so Abby, thank you for being so helpful, answering all of my questions. She shared on our Facebook Levinson page. We appreciate that. Love it. Rafnell, Carrie, your entire team is amazing. Thank you to you, Charisma, and the team for the effort on this case. He just placed a $38,000 case, so it was a beautiful home run, slam dunk, and we could have never done it, number one, without you, Rafnell. I see you're on today. Number two, our fantastic team that's behind the scenes. They're all working so hard to try to push these cases over the finish line. By the way, the same thing goes for life, health, and annuity, obviously, right? It's all under one roof now. So we got first base, second base, third base covered. When you think about cross selling, cross marketing, we have you covered 100% of the way. Let's keep moving forward. When it comes to senior health, when it comes to Medicare, when it comes to ancillaries, okay, Med Sup, everything is at your fingertips with our Medicare minutes. Okay, there's lots of changes in this part of the industry, as you know, and we want to make sure that we keep you one step ahead of the competition as far as compliance and product info. So every single Monday, you're going to see the Medicare Minute in your inbox. If you're not receiving this, just let us know. That means we have your incorrect email or you never opted into our health insurance database. Okay, and that's also going to be in the thank you email as well. Let's keep moving forward. I think this is also important. I have just a couple more slides here, and then Coach Jeremy is going to take the wheel real fast. What I preach literally since day one, right? And I know I spoke a lot about this at the expo. And the bottom line is we're a life and annuity IMO, right? Since 1972, 25,000 agents in almost every city in the country, okay? So when you talk about the health side, right, you may be scratching your head saying, Bill, why health insurance? Okay, why Medicare? And the reasoning is, especially since COVID, what's happening is your consumers, your prospects, your book of business, okay? Number one, they're all aging, as we know, right? Turning 65, we know how that works. Number two, consumers are more educated because of AI, because of the internet, right? It's not uncommon for a client to call you, the agent, and they know more about the carriers and products than you know, okay, which is totally fine, by the way. But what's happening is the marketing is being done from the bottom up, right? The clients are more educated, which means our agents have to be a little more educated, and us as the IMO have to be super educated. And if we don't know the answers, we have to know where to go to get those answers. Okay, so bottom line is you need to wear a few hats because you don't want to risk losing that client that loves you when it comes to their FIA and their IUL you sold them 22 and a half months ago, right? But they're going somewhere else for health, okay, or ancillaries, all right, because you know how that works. The health agent or agency, they're cross selling and cross marketing, and they're now pitching life insurance and annuities to the same clients, okay? So you want to be on the forefront of that, be proactive, and make sure you have your bases covered. That's why we're more involved now than ever. And think about our partnership announcement with AmeriLife back in October of last year. We did it for one huge reason because they're the largest when it comes to these products and carriers and platforms. So we partnered with them for a reason. This was our dream, our goal for many, many years, and we're finally at that place. With open enrollment just a few months away, we want to make sure our agents are equipped to be successful in the space, rookies or veterans, okay? And if you need to brush up on a Medicare 101, we have you covered as well. Everything is in our website. We also are adding a complete senior health training 101 platform to our dashboard. So we right now currently have the annuity side, okay, and then we have a professional certificate at the end. Basically says you're a sales pro when it comes to annuities. We're doing the same thing with health and the same thing on the life side as well, all built in to our dashboard, 100% complimentary, as long as you're an active Levinson agent. Okay, this is my final slide here, and then Jeremy will take over. What I wanted to mention quickly is Marshall is running the show when it comes to health, and then he will have a right hand to support him and you all by next week. So you'll have 2 or 3 go-tos here in the office, and then with AmeriLife as our back office, we know we have you covered, right? They have over 1,000 employees. So we are good when it comes to support, contracts all direct through AmeriLife one way or another, which is also great peace of mind. And then as you can see, we have the entire map covered with the hottest and in my opinion, the best products that are in the health space today, and we are adding to this by the day. So if there's something that you need, you don't see on this slide, just let us know. We either have the contract and processing form right now, or we will reach out and make sure we have the contract for you. Okay, let's keep moving forward. What I want to do next is introduce my good friend, Coach Jeremy, who's going to take it from here. Jeremy, you there?
Hey, Bill. Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much for the introduction.
Yep, thank you. I appreciate it.
Perfect. Well, Bill, appreciate the intro and love what you guys are doing on the life and annuity side of the house. Can everyone see my screen? Are we good to get started?
I think give us once. I think we got to share your screen. Andrew, you got it covered?
Yep, I don't see it yet. Don't see it yet there, but Jeremy, you should have that request that we did earlier. Should be like an option to accept it.
I see it right here.
Okay, then we're good to go.
Perfect. Technology, right? Now, I appreciate you taking the time and reaching out to involve me with all the great things that you guys are doing. My name is Jeremy. I'm a licensed agent and sales coach. I've done everything in the business you can imagine. So I have my license. I have my book of business. I've also run an agency, ran an agency for several years that was completely telephonic. I had as many as 50 agents on the phone for me, writing 2 apps a day, year round, and did a good job there for several years. So everything you can imagine about the business, leads, making good decisions, spending a lot of money, good habits, bad habits. I've essentially been through all of it. So when Bill brought me on, wanted to give you guys kind of my survival guide that I use every year to get prepped for annual enrollment. It's going to be here before we know it, and then start getting comfortable with not just the idea, but the application of talking about Medicare Advantage and additional products. So we'll walk through some key items. We'll go through a brief agenda. To start, number 1 is going to be AHIP. To sell Medicare Advantage, you have to do your AHIP every single year. So we'll go over some info there. Carrier recertifications on the Medicare side, it is a little bit different than most, where every single year you have to go in and attest to the new updates, as well as do the updated training. So we'll go through some of those important dates so you have all of that in mind. We'll go over some compliance updates. Last year, not really a ton of compliance changes affecting current business. This year, we're going to see quite a few changes. So we want to make sure that we are covering those. I'm going to go over the brief future of Medicare, what I'm seeing in the industry, what direction we see the industry going here in the next several years. And then most importantly, Jeremy, tell me more. What can I do now to set myself up for success? What can I continue to do week over week to make sure that I am putting my clients in the driver's seat to their health success? So diving right in, AHIP. AHIP is live for 2027. So it just launched last week or earlier this week, time's flying, on the 22nd. So if you are a new agent and you have not written Medicare before, especially on the Advantage side, a lot of agents will ask, well, that's for 2027. What about 2026? So if you do your AHIP today for 2027, that will get you prepared for AEP for your 1/1 effectives, but you will also be able to write your 7/1s, 8/1s, 9/1s, any of your initial election period business this year as well. So don't get spooked. All you have to do is do it once for 27 and you're good from today all the way until December 31st of 2027. So I always tell agents, do this now. Let's not wait. A lot of agents, like taking summer off, kids are at home, I have time to relax. And then once we get time closer to AEP, instead of agents prospecting their business, reaching out to clients that have gotten their annual notice of change, they're doing their AHIP and recertification. So whether you watch sports or there's a particular player that you like, they always say, when it comes to the game time decisions and game time plays, it's won or lost in the weight room, on the track, months before. And Medicare is the exact same way. So in order to have a great AEP, there are things you need to be actively doing right now in the summer months when no one's watching to be prepared for annual enrollment. So make sure you do your AHIP. If you're wondering, Jeremy, what's AHIP? Or I think I've done it for this year, how can I check? Marshall is your point of contact to make sure you are good to go there. So here's just some dates up here. Feel free to log into your carrier portals. It should be in all of your to-dos or mandatory. In Humana, it's under the university. It will show you if there is optional work to be done or required work to be done. So if you need the links to those, I'll make sure Marshall has a cheat sheet just so you have the links to get to each of these sites. But as of today, UHC, Devoted, Aetna are available. So if you say, hey, Jeremy, how can I get a head start? UHC, Devoted, I would put a star next to Devoted. They are an expansion carrier this year. They are moving into some of the Midwest states, the Illinois, the Kentuckys, the Indianas, moving into some really Elevance or Anthem heavy states. So it's going to be a good carrier to look out for, all the way to WellCare at the end, which we're still about a month out for WellCare. So what I do when I'm managing my AHIP and managing my carrier certifications, I know I have my consulting to do during the day. I have my own clients that I need to work with. So every weekend, I usually do mine on Saturday mornings, and I'll just say, hey, I know if a certification is going to take me an hour or an hour and a half to do, then I'm just going to do one or two each weekend for the next month. And then by the time WellCare is around on the 21st of next month, you're good to go. And then by the end of July, all of your certifications are done and you are ready to sell for 2027. So do that now. This is the not fun stuff, the running, the lifting, the stretching, but we have to be ready for game time. I want to make sure that everyone is prepared from a compliance perspective. So step one, to be compliant, you have to have an active license. You have to have your AHIP. You have to be ready to sell with the carrier. So that's compliance number one. Have to do it before you get out in front of clients. Two, there are going to be a couple 2026 must-haves that are going to continue for 2027, which is one, telephonic, which is my background. If you are selling over the phone or have any conversations with clients, write this down, with the intent to discuss Medicare, the call needs to be recorded. So if you call one of your life or annuity clients and you start talking to them about copays or start talking to them about product specific information and you do not have a scope of appointment, then you are out of compliance. So we want to make sure that when you are on the phone, whether you are anything after the scheduling an appointment, like collecting doctors, collecting drugs, we need to make sure that we are recording. Two, with that, it's a scope of appointments, but scope of appointments or scope of or SOAs as they're called, these need to be done prior to each marketing appointment. And what I mean by that is, like I mentioned earlier, if you have an intent to discuss Medicare, you need to have a scope of appointment. These scope of appointments cover one presentation every 12 months. So we'll go over some tips and tricks here in a bit. But if you have a scope of appointment with a client, you enroll them in a product. Next year, you call that same client, your scope of appointment is now null because you have already had that presentation and enrollment. So that scope of appointment has been burned or essentially been used. So just know every presentation you do with the client, new scope of appointment. Third bullet, all marketing must be approved. So if you are doing any flyers, mailers, emails, that are going out. I would lean on Marshall and his team to say, hey, here's what I've typically done in the past, whether it's sending letters, doing ads on Facebook or, through social media. I'm doing these flyers to hand out at an event. Lean on the Levinson team because they want to make sure that they are keeping you out of the line of fire when it comes to marketing. So very important that your marketing pieces are approved for 2027. 4, avoid misleading phrasing. So there's been some bad actors in the industry. It's very unfortunate, but similar to the call recordings, there is to be no product information discussed over your marketing pieces. So something you cannot do is something to the effect of, let's say I'm marketing to folks in Florida. Floridians, are you interested in $500 of over-the-counter benefits? Question mark. Call today. That's wildly out of compliance. But now if you do the same flyer or marketing and say, turning 65, have questions about Medicare, call today. That's very tame, it's very vague, and it's not using misleading phrasing that's going to help hook or slant a client's perspective on what the best plan is for them before speaking to a licensed agent. So if you're planning on using any verbiage as a hook to get clients to call you, run that by Marshall and the team. We want to make sure that you are compliant there. And then speaking of compliance, this TPMO disclosure is added to all of your marketing pieces. So if you are doing any Facebook flyers, if you're doing anything that's posted, anything that's in written form, this needs to be included on all of your marketing. If you're doing banners or signs, you need to make sure that if it is, come here to speak to a licensed agent and it's an arrow, outside of your office that's pointing in, you need to make sure that you have this disclosure on those. If it's a letter or anything that is being sent through the mail or a flyer, needs to be at least 12-point font, and then you should be in the clear. But Marshall and team will certainly help you with that. Now here is part 2. These are some of the new things. They're not live yet. They will be ready for plan year 2027. So this is going to start for AEP. So you still have 3 months of a couple of these things, but we'll review those one by one. So first one, 48-hour rule between scope of appointment completion and personal marketing or your presentations is eliminated for 2027. So what that means is historically, if you're in a home with the client where a scope of appointment was done for, let's say, the wife, and a friend comes over, or the spouse says, hey, I want you to speak to my husband, then that's a separate conversation, separate interaction. That is more than likely going to have to wait 48 hours because that was not covered on the initial scope of appointment, not covered under the initial consent to contact. So got to wait 48 hours. Over the phone, it worked very similarly. So if you're doing outbound phone calls to your book of business and say, oh, great, there's some new products that I offer. Wanted to make sure that you're covered for your health care this year. And they say, you know what, I don't. I'd love to have a conversation. Historically, you'll have to say, well, great, let's schedule a conversation 48 hours from now. And then I can come back. We'll handle your life insurance or your annuity today. And then I'll come back later this week, or we can set up a phone call 48 hours from now. That's going to go away. So essentially, if you have a client that is interested in speaking to you about Medicare today, you're great. You can have the scope of appointment and the presentation in the same day. So that's a game changer. When I ran my agency, we were a telesales team. This was prior to the 48-hour rule. So it was great for us, over the last couple of years with the 48-hour rule. You're essentially getting a customer excited about speaking to you. and then you have to say, hey, to be compliant, we need to wait. Second thing, agents may now make available and receive scope of appointment forms at educational events. So this is new for 2027 as well. Historically, educational events was, here's my card, please reach out to me. Everything is going to be a call to action, inbound, here's my office, here's my phone number. Now you can essentially have those interested parties complete a scope of appointment during your educational event. And then you're good to have that conversation with them whenever it's convenient for their schedule. And then last thing, scope of appointments for in-person marketing must be in writing. So there's a couple ways to do a scope of appointment. You can either do it over the phone, text, email. You can have them sign a form, or they can do a wet signature. So if you're in person, you will need to have them either do a wet signature, or if you use a quoting and enrollment tool like Sunfire, you will need to make sure you have a signature that is able to be stored. So essentially CMS is just wanting to confirm, okay, well, you saw this person in person. I want to make sure I can see a signature from them, because in-person appointments do not have to be recorded. So CMS is wanting to make sure that you are covered. Now let's get into the fun stuff. Future of Medicare. This is what we're here. Some of the audience might be, hey, Jeremy, first 10 minutes, nice refresher. I knew all that stuff. I'm up to speed on the goings on. Tell me a little bit more about what's going to happen here in the next couple years. So stats and facts. Next 5 years, essentially prior to 2030, the remaining of the baby boomers are going to age out. So once they get to that Medicare age, we have about 5 more years, the last bus to get those boomers into Medicare. So what this means is this is a massive opportunity for agents that are not currently selling Medicare to join in on the feeding frenzy, for a lack of better terms. Not saying that folks aren't going to age into Medicare after 2030 or 2031, but the number is drastically going to plateau in the years after that. So great time to get into the Medicare space, great time to double down on Medicare Advantage because we're going to have about a 5-year window here where folks are going to have the most opportunity. Second thing, this is already being slow walked in some states like Tennessee, but we are moving to a full dual plan alignment by 2030. What that means is if you are writing a client into a dual special needs plan, meaning they have Medicaid, they are going to have to be in the same exact word for word, letter for letter Medicare Advantage plan for special needs as their MCO or their managed care organization that administers their Medicaid. So an example would be if a customer has Blue Shield Medicaid, they're going to have to be in a Blue Shield Medicare dual special needs plans. There's some nuances that we can go through in future sessions. During AEP and OEP, it's not wildly important. But say now or any of the election periods outside of AEP or OEP, if a person wants to get into a United Healthcare full dual coordination plan, their Medicaid is going to have to be United Healthcare as well. So it's going to have to match. Right now, you can still get away with AEP and OEP to plan change them into a air quotes stronger plan that may have their doctors, drugs, or may have the benefits that they like. But we're going to get to a stage here in the next 4 or 5 years where every customer is going to have to be in a plan that matches their Medicaid. So looking at it kind of catch 22, your opportunity to enroll Medicaid clients may go down, but it's also a retention stop as well. If you can't write new business, no other agent can write that business away from you. So it's going to be a great opportunity for you to jump in the D-SNP market as well, make sure folks are aligned. Third bucket, please be aware of plan suppressions and non-commissionable plans. So we know in the Medicare space, about 2 years ago, once we moved into the new administration and we were weaning off of some of the previous administration's Medicaid assistance. Essentially, there are folks that were, one, kicked off of Medicaid that had it, which caused an issue with some of the carriers. And then two, there was a change with the IRAs, not the tax folks, but the Income Reduction Act, where the true maximum out of pocket for prescription drugs, the liability changed from the clients to the carriers. So on surface, what that means is there's no donut hole for customers anymore, which is great, which means they have one less phase of Part D to go through before the carrier pays for their plan. Great news on paper. If you look deeper, essentially that risk, that $5,000 the customer now doesn't have to pay before they get, maximum coverage for their prescription drugs, the carriers have to pay now. So we've seen last year, we're probably going to see it again this year, where carriers are going to say, there's a lot more risk that we have to, essentially assume with these prescription drugs, with more clients being phased out of Medicaid that now qualify for a standard Medicare plan, are now going to potentially look at products that are either suppressed or commissionable. One, if they're not profitable. Two, if the utilization is not wildly there. And three, we are seeing carriers like United Healthcare, Humana, Aetna has a few, WellCare has a few flagship plans that are going away due to them being PPOs. So we are seeing a return to sender, giant air quotes, with how Medicare Advantage typically worked in its infancy. HMOs, referrals, we're seeing in-network doctors. The last couple years it's been very PPO. Utilization has been up in the air, and customers are just looking to get into good healthcare plans, and the carriers are wanting to make sure they accomplish that while also being profitable as well. So we may see some carriers that have 12 plans, that go down to, single digit plans, just so they can be utilized, and, the carriers continue to, can administer their services. Bullet point 4, regional carriers, we're going to see their ascension. So with some of these bigger carriers, the Humanas, the Levinsons, the Devoted, some of these bigger folks, they're doing great. They're still expanding. Do not forget about these regional carriers, the HCSCs of the world, the Blue Shields, the Freedom Optimums. They're in Florida, not wildly far from most of you guys. These smaller carriers are great because they haven't always been able to expand as quickly as some of the other carriers. They usually have a niche region that tends to have really good doctors in network, because they've focused on one key regional market and they've done really, really well in those markets. So yes, we need the big folks. We need the big carriers to write probably 70% of our business, but do not slack on the regional carriers. They're going to be very important. And then also with the cross-selling steps in the industry, we are entering a new era of Medicare. So we want to make sure that when we're having conversations with our clients, whether it's about life or annuities, Bill, I couldn't have said it better myself. We have an opportunity to write that client, or someone else is going to write that client. So there's a lot of good products, the Wellabys of the world, the United National Lifes, hospital indemnity, cancer, are going to be very important. One, for retention. And then two, it's going to help your customers understand that you are now the source of truth for everything. Okay, if I have questions about life, that's great. I can lean on my Levinson team and agent John Doe. Oh, I have questions about hospital indemnity. I have a $2,000 a week gap in my coverage for inpatient hospital copay. Levinson, I can call agent Jane Doe for that, my agent that's helped me with my life insurance. So cross-selling is going to be very, very important as well. And then also put the another bullet point, I call it the less thans or equal tos. Like I mentioned earlier, with some of these plan suppressions that are coming in, we're going to see a lot of carriers that are either going to come in equal or lesser than they were last year. When I ran my agency every year, Mrs. Jones, your dental's going from $1,500 to $2,000. Mrs. Jones, your over-the-counter's going from $100 a quarter to $150. You know, with all of the changes, the IRAs, you know, moving the sliding scale for Medicaid, having to now administer more risk for the prescription drugs, we're seeing a lot of these carriers try to hold firm on their benefits just so they can kind of get back into the fight. So this is a great opportunity as well. In years past, it used to be kind of like a early 2000s crock pot commercial, just set it and forget it. We are not in that era anymore. We're going to do a plan review every single year. So a common pushback that we're going to go over here in a bit. If a customer says, Jeremy, I'm already fine with my plan. I love Humana. I love their green card. It says gold in the name of it, so it has to be the best, right? Unfortunately, maybe. Unfortunately, maybe not. So for you as an agent that has your sales hat on, you know, you can say, well, Mrs. Jones, I'm glad to hear you're liking your plan. My goal as your agent is to ensure that the current benefits you have, you're still entitled to. And most important thing that folks tend to overlook is the importance of their doctors and making sure that their prescription drugs are still going to be covered in the new plan year. I cannot guarantee you that all of those things will be the same next year. What I can guarantee you of is spending the next 30 to 45 minutes reviewing your current plan and making sure it's the best plan for you for 2027. So always beware of the less than or equal tos. This is another great opportunity for agents to figure out, okay, we need to review your plan every single year. And then we need to talk about some additional products that's going to help close the gaps in your current Medicare coverage. And then setting yourself up for success. 2 more slides and we'll send it on home. So setting yourself up for success, like I mentioned, right now we're in the weight room. Right now we're on the track. We are getting prepared for annual enrollment. So this is the current time where you can stay out in front of any of those plan suppressions or plans that are going non-commissionable. Those can be your priorities, right? Okay, UHC for the 1st of July, they're putting some plans non-commissionable. Okay, I need to prioritize those folks. I want to make sure I can support my clients. And in order for me to do that, I have to be paid for the business that I do. Second thing, I would start setting up your scope of appointments and cross-selling opportunities now, not during AEP, but now, because those scope of appointments, as I mentioned, are good for the next 12 months. So a lot of agents say, great, I'm getting prepared for AEP. And then they spend all of October doing scope of appointments, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, mandate, scope of appointment for prior marketing appointments. And they're just reading, signing, and they're actually losing time to have presentations about actually selling a product. So I would do your scope of appointments prior to annual enrollment. I would also double, triple check, okay, are there any new doctors that you're seeing this year that we want to make sure your plan covers? Is there any prescription drugs that you are taking that are new to this year that we need to make sure are on the formulary? I would do all of your intake information significantly before AEP. Usually annual notice of changes go out in September. I would for sure say before you get to October 1st, the brunt of your clients need to have a fresh scope of appointment, and they need to have their doctors and prescription drugs complete. That way, when you hit October 1st, for me, AEP starts the 1st of October, because that's when you can start marketing 2027 plans. So have your scope of appointments done in September when they get their annual notice of change. We're collecting doctors, drugs, what's important to you in your plan, Mrs. Jones. And then we are going into scheduling October 1st through October 14th. So I always told my agents, I would tell them, pull up your calendar for me. I want to see what your October 1st through October 14th looks like. Those 14 days should essentially be presentations and getting a commitment for a Medicare enrollment. Sounds great in the plan. Wonderful. Mrs. Jones, I'd love to enroll you today, but unfortunately, I can't press this green button until the 15th of October. So what we're going to do, everything's ready to go. I'm going to call you on October 15th at 9:07 in the morning. Have your red, white, and blue card ready for you, and we're going to get this taken care of. And if it's in person, great. I want to make sure that we are able to accommodate your appointment, and we're getting your enrollment good to go. So very important that you use September to prep, first 2 weeks of October to get going. And then last slide, we're going to bring it on home. Sales time. This is my fun stuff. This is what I pride myself in doing well at, and what I want agents to feel confident in doing. I have a model that I call the 4 circles. So you can call it 4 circle selling. You can call it the 4 circles. Doesn't have to be wildly fancy. When you have a presentation with a client, your scope of appointment is going to cover a lot of information. So, the Medicare, Medicaid services require scope of appointment prior to marketing appointments. Here's what we're going to cover. So your hospital indemnity, your cancer, your Medicare Advantage, that's all covered in the scope of appointment. And you could talk about all of those in the same presentation. What I tell clients is I have a belief statement. And if you don't have a belief statement, I would make sure that you write one. Whether your belief statement is, Mrs. Jones, I got into the Medicare business because my parents were aging in and no one was able to help them. I take great pride knowing that whether you're my friend, my family, or we just met today, that you are able to get the health care you need by seeing the doctors that you like, take the prescription drugs that your body needs, and that you're able to get all the great benefits that you work so hard for to pay into that you should be receiving. That's my belief statement. Then we're going to go into the 4 circles. Mrs. Jones, why we're talking today is because your health care is important to me. Want to make sure that you can spend time with your family without feeling the stresses of, is my health care going to be covered? What I want to review with you today, Mrs. Jones, is your benefits that you use to see your doctor, your Medicare plan. Do you have Medicare's A and B? Okay, you have a Medicare Advantage plan. I like to usually ask, what card do you show your doctor? And then, okay, great, it's an Advantage plan. Who currently covers your inpatient hospital copay? And then I'm going to have a second circle. What do you mean, my inpatient hospital copay? I'm sure you're aware with your Advantage plan, there is going to be a copay for your inpatient services at the hospital. It's not covered outside of Medicare. Do you have another company that helps you? And then I'm going to tell Mrs. Jones. If she says no, I'm going to say, let me write that down. I'm going to currently show in this circle, you do not have hospital coverage. I want to regurgitate that information. Third thing, same with cancer. There's some additional products I work with that can help you in the case of a cancer diagnosis. This is something that's not covered in your Advantage plan. Most products for Advantage have a 20% co-insurance for Part B injectables, such as cancer. So if you have a $10,000 bill every single month for your chemo, it's going to cost you $2,000. Do you currently have coverage to help in the case of a cancer diagnosis? And then I'm going to regurgitate it again. Okay, no, great. So I'm going to write down right now that you don't have cancer coverage. And then that's something we're going to talk about in the call. And then same thing with life. Life isn't something you can talk about during a Medicare appointment. Your Advantage, your HIP, your cancer, since those are ancillary, that is bulked into your scope. But I always like to say, can't talk about this just yet as well, but making sure that you're able to have peace of mind in your celebration of life, maybe leave some I love you money to your family. Do you currently have a product in place to cover your final expenses? And replace life with annuities, replace it with a product that you're wildly confident with. Just set up the expectations early in the call that we're going to be talking about 4 products. And then going into the 3 questions, if you get stuck anywhere on a Medicare presentation, I always ask these 3 questions. Okay, you have your Humana plan. Tell me what you like about it. What don't you like? What would you change? Because as you go into building certainty into your product, you need to build emotional and logical certainty that what you're talking about makes sense to the client, and that everything that they like, they don't like, and something that they would change would not only be met, but it would be exceeded by this new option that you're looking at. So very important when you're building certainty that you're scooping information. What do you like? And I learned this when I worked at McDonald's. What else? So if they say, oh, I like my plan because it has over the counter, oh, that's fantastic. What do you use it for? Tell me more about that. Oh, you like it because you get all your Tylenol and over the counter stuff? Or, oh, you like it because you have a 0 premium on your specialist? Well, tell me more about that. Do you see your specialist often? Do you have a good relationship with them? Sounds great. Tell me more. What else do you like? Because then once we get to a portion where we transition, our transition statement is essentially just going to use everything we learned during our conversation to put into a plan recommendation. So Mrs. Jones, based on what you told me, you said you like your plan because it covers your doctors, it has dental coverage, and it comes in clutch when it comes to some of the additional benefits. I know you said you like the transportation, so you can get to your appointments. Sounds fantastic. Based on that, my recommendation is going to be XYZ. Now you're transitioning into making a close. Based on what you told me, you like this, 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 and this. You hate your current plan because it didn't do this, 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 and this. In order for us to move forward today, Mrs. Jones, we need to do a brief enrollment, take about 15 minutes of your time. Go grab your red, white, and blue card if you don't already have it in front of you. And we're going to get started on your application. These benefits will start the 1st of next month. And then we are flying to that plan enrollment. And that's it. I would keep it wildly simple with your clients. Our goal is to help folks find plans that meet their needs. There's never a shortage of help. So if you have questions when it comes to a plan recommendation, or I'm running into these objections, Jeremy, people keep telling me they like the plan that they're in. What do I say? Or I keep, running into, issues where I'm running into this pushback, or I'm unable to, get a client enrolled because of X, Y, Z. Let Marshall and team know they have me on call. They have me on speed dial for anything. My goal is to here to help, Bill and team and continue our friendship and partnership. But appreciate everyone taking the time today, and looking forward to seeing you guys start hitting those sales reports and going on all those fun trips.
Awesome. That was great, Jeremy. Andrew, do we have any questions that you didn't get to? We have just a couple minutes here.
Yep, I got a quick one here. So Gene is asking us, he's asking what for the scope of appointment, or the when you go on the meeting. He's saying if the intent of the appointment was actually to discuss life insurance or annuities not related to Medicare, would you be able to handle that on the same meeting? How does that work if you're going in for a completely different subject matter?
So in reverse, basically.
Then you're good. So let's just say you're going in for a life or annuity conversation. So there's no scope that's been done yet, because on your side of the house, there doesn't have to be one. You have the existing relationship, you can have that plan conversation. If through discovery you figure out, oh, some young kid that doesn't know what he's doing put me in this plan, and I'm having all sorts of issues, you can't ask, who is your Medicare? I can help you with Medicare, but you can open the door to folks. And I always tell folks, handle what you're good at, life annuities. And then I would just ask them, are you pleased with your current coverage? I almost do it kind of like not a survey, but kind of a satisfaction question. And there's usually just a couple of them. Are you satisfied with your current healthcare coverage? Is there any worry right now on copays going up, or you not being able to see your doctor? There's some additional products that I can help you, look into. And if they say that sounds great, I would love to look into that, then you can go into the scope of appointment conversation and then start talking about Medicare. But if there's not a need for Medicare right away, I just lean into the satisfaction piece. There's some additional products that I offer. You currently happy with the state of the state today? If not, perfect. Part of what I do here at Levinson is, I pride myself in being a one-stop shop. Can certainly help have a conversation with you, today or at a later date.
Yep. At part of a fact finder, I would build it right into that.
Oh, for
That's great.
sure. Oh, for sure.
Yep.
And it's a great way too, to reach out to folks if you don't have consent to contact, is to talk about, some of the lifers, or, start doing, looking through your life or annuity book of business. And, you can do outbound phone calls. You can even do emails. Email and text campaigns are probably the quickest way to get your name out there to say, you know what, I pride myself in helping support you. I, applaud and thank you for being a customer of mine for so many years. There's also some new products that I offer. Call me today. Certainly happy to walk you through, how I can help you, and other lines of business. That's a great way to have inbound phone calls to you. That's great. So you can just scope and run with it. And if you say, hey, I don't want to waste any time, I just want to call folks, you can. And then I would just start asking those survey questions. There's some additional products that I'm quite familiar with. Are you currently happy with your, healthcare coverage? Is there any immediate needs to get support there? And if they say, I'm not happy or I need some help, great. Then that's a kind of opens the door for you then to say, hey, well, then that's great. Let me tell you a little bit of something called Medicare Advantage that I've been learning a thing or two about.
Yeah, that's great. It's covering all bases, cross marketing, and we have all the systems, by the way, if you want to start mass blasting and texting to your book of business or your prospects. So that's fantastic. All right, Jeremy, I got to let you go here because we only have 4 minutes before we put a bow on this, and I got a couple other things to cover with our platform. But you did fantastic. We appreciate you and can't wait to do this again in a few months. Thank you again, Jeremy. Let's jump into our first slide here, and then we'll get everyone out in 5 minutes or so. I want to just show some of the value add, the platforms that are available to you, and most of this is free of charge, okay, just as a active Levinson agent. So how to get started, everything is on our website. We have our onboarding, all of our links, our compliance links and checks. Everything is there at your fingertips. Let's keep moving forward. This is what makes us unique in the space, okay? For example, with LeadStar, it doesn't cost you a penny, okay? It has a built-in dialer recording device, everything 100% compliant. And if you are working your own leads or your own book of business, like Jeremy was just talking about, and you wanted to use the entire LeadStar system from A to Z, which does everything, by the way, doesn't cost you a penny, okay? That's just one of the value adds by working with us, okay? The Sunfire quoting, EAPS, 100% complimentary. It's also built in to LeadStar as a plugin. Just below that, we have co-op discounted leads, and then we have mailers, seminar packages. Everything is discounted and built for you all. And think about this. Let's go to the next slide. So as an AmeriLife partner, right, they have over 100,000 agents. They're the largest in the country when it comes to this. So you're riding the coattails of these 100,000+ of agents in the US. So that's why we're able to do these things for you, mostly at no charge. Okay, because it's like again the Costco approach versus the neighborhood grocery store. The left-hand side, that is all built into LeadStar. You'll have your own dashboard account, and these are the leads available if you want to purchase leads at this discounted rate, starting at $20 for inbound Medicare leads. That's unbelievable. That's like half the price of what it should be. And then we have live transfers, we have in-person appointments. I mean, all the above. Right-hand side, this is another platform available to you, and this will give you a database of millions of prospects. You can literally go in and filter, let's say, everyone turning age 65, right, in the state of Florida or California, or pick 7 states, okay, and start your marketing through e-blast, texting, and calling, even using an AI assistant if you wanted. And then as soon as someone picks up, you can jump on the phone or set up a calendar appointment. So anyway, the list goes on and on. Let's keep moving forward. I want to talk about a couple other things that we have available to you. Through our health department, which is now in-house. So we have a third-party social media posting company that does everything for you. They'll even build your website. Their background is in health. That's how they cut their teeth. So Ken knows the entire health industry, and the pricing, let me just tell you, it starts at like $60 a month. It goes up to $130. That's for a full professional WordPress website. Okay, with him managing all social media platforms, posting once a week on your behalf. And they do an AI custom video for you if you want to post it on all of your platforms. It starts at like $50. I mean, this stuff is peanuts. So anyway, take advantage of this. In-house, we have our compliance section built in to the health side of our website. We also have co-brands. We have flyers we can co-brand for you, videos we can co-brand. Everything is on the health section. Let's keep moving forward. What I want to talk about next is another huge value add. If we can, let's go to the next slide. So all of these bullets, everything you're looking at on the next slide, if we can go to the next slide, there we go. Okay, so E&O insurance starting at $295. Okay, we just added Web CE. So for your CE credit, 20% discount. If maybe you want to get set up on the health side, you're not health licensed, 50% off exam prep. If you have downline agents, same thing goes. On the right-hand side, we have agent benefits, including group health insurance access now. So everything from A to Z, just like as if you were a career agent working for MetLife, 20 years ago. So you now have access to all of this through our AmeriLife partnership. Let's keep moving forward. The Bill Levinson Experience podcast. This was a great episode with the CEO of AmeriLife. If we can go to the pod, there we go. So number 64, this is an hour interview with Scott this year in January. It was one of my favorites, and he gives the perspective on why it's so important to cross-sell and cross-market in 2026 and what they have put together and what the big vision is, which you are part of. So let's keep moving forward. Check that one out when you can. This will be in the thank you email. The next slide, real fast, is our upcoming training event. It's all about living benefits, getting you living benefits certified with LSW. We're going to talk about the new instant decision product, bunch of great value add product strategies on July 10th. If you're anywhere in Florida from Orlando to Key West, try to make it down. It's worth your time. 100% complimentary, great food. You'll get to meet us. We have 2 executives coming down as well, and then our VP from LSW. So make sure you register. Let's keep moving forward. This is our menu of training events. By the way, I'm going to get you out in just a minute here, I promise you. We're almost done, second to last slide. So think of, you have dinner tonight, right? You get appetizers, entree, dessert, right? This is our menu of live trainings. And what you're on right now is our Triple Play Health series. So we have 2 more parts to the health trainings that are coming up. Everything is in front of you. And then we have a dedicated webinar just on Sunfire. So we want to make sure you are 100% comfortable, just like you are on our website, quoting life and EAPS and IGO, same thing, but on the health side with Sunfire. We'll have our expert in-house doing the training, and then we have a few carriers, and then everything else on the life and annuity side. So again, this will be in the thank you email. My final slide in our giveaway. First, my Positive Tuesday quote: big dreams and goals never work unless you do, right? You got to put the effort in, put that right foot on the gas pedal, smash it down, try new things, try new marketing, and this will supplement your income, your business model, right? And who knows, at the end of the day, you might become the health superstar, and then you're doing life and annuity on the side, right? Or all the above, hopefully. So be the one-stop shop, right? Cover all bases for your clients so they don't have to go elsewhere. You already own the relationship, so why not? Question of the day: get your little fingers on the keyboard. You got to be quick and you got to be accurate. I spoke about the health leads, the co-op discounted Medicare leads. What's the cost of the inbound Medicare leads? It's a co-op discounted rate. You tell me the number and you win Apple AirPods IUL prospecting book. The inbound Medicare leads. Tell me what that magic number is and you win. Andrew, who was first and correct?
Okay, we have Jeffrey K. Jeffrey K.
Jeffrey K. Congrats. The inbound Medicare leads. Your price, $20. Congrats, Jeff. Congrats to all of you because you sat here with us on a Friday afternoon for an hour. So I appreciate you. I hope it was worth your time. Please don't hesitate to call in with any questions. We're here to make sure you're comfortable, and we have the support behind us to help you every step of the way with everything. Okay? Have a great weekend, great selling, and thank you again, everyone.